Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for a Shibumi webinar where we're talking about creating business value with AI and effective lifecycle management. My name is JC Zhao, and I lead product marketing at Shibumi. And I'm also one of the architects of the Shibumi AI Value Accelerator solution. And that is our solution that allows an organization to gather AI project ideas, manage them, prioritize them, and track their business benefits. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. This is being recorded, and you will be able to view the recording on demand after the event is over. We'd love to hear any questions. We love to make sure that you get value from this presentation. So please, if you have any questions, just type them in. We have some time reserved at the end for live Q&A. So I will be speaking today. And then joining me is Kim Lewis, our Chief Product Officer at Shibumi. Hi, Kim. Welcome.
Hi, JC. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. As JC mentioned, we're very excited to share with you some details about our AI Value Accelerator solution, but also talk a little bit more holistically around what it takes to put together a good AI program in your organization. So with that, I'll jump to the agenda slide. Like I said, really quick intro to AI. I think if you're on this webinar, you have some interest. You may have some level of knowledge, so we'll make sure we kind of set the stage there. We'll move into the life cycle management of an AI program and the AI opportunities and talk through that. And we can't talk about AI without also considering the risks and the governance that's required to be successful with AI as well. We'll finish with a quick demo of our AI Value Accelerator. So with that, I'll step right into the first AI 101 slide. So as I mentioned, you may have a lot of knowledge already about AI. In case you don't, we're going to step through some basics. First and foremost, AI solutions are computer systems that can perform the same tasks that humans could. It requires human intelligence. There are different techniques. There's two primary techniques: traditional machine learning and generative AI. Traditional machine learning is the one that's been around for a while. It's the concept there is that we feed a lot of data into a model, and the model learns from that data, and then is able to provide predictions, help you with decisions. A good example of that most of us have experience is when you're using a ride-sharing app. Machine learning is the technology that's helping predict the arrival time of your car. The other technique is generative AI. This is newer, and it was really something that wasn't mainstream. It was primarily research category until OpenAI released ChatGPT 3.0 back in 2022. A lot has changed since 2022. This is now a very big focus area for AI solutions. And the same concept applies. We feed content into our generative AI solutions, and then the generative AI solution will produce new content, either a text-based new content or some sort of imaging or something along those lines. A good example of that is the Bard solution that Google provides that lets you generate images. So you can see that there's some really great capability there that organizations have now tried to latch onto to say, okay, how can we apply that to make our company stronger, increase efficiency, increase revenue, better customer satisfaction? And by all means, this is a capability that will give you those benefits. Again, I'll talk traditional machine learning, just looking at this slide, will help with predictions, will help with classifications, optimizations, generative text. I always think of it as first draft efficiencies. It will get you to that first draft. Not likely that you're going to stay at that first draft, but it will get you to the first draft and give you that really quick start to whatever project you're working on. Generative AI, visual focus, a lot of places we're seeing that is diagnostic, looking at x-rays, looking at MRIs and making some diagnostic recommendations. the self-driving car concept all falls into that visual generative AI world as well. So there's so much benefit to be had. There's so much opportunity there that companies are trying to take advantage of. Unfortunately, so far, AI projects have fallen short of actually hitting the expectations. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Certainly technology reasons. The technology doesn't yet do what they had hoped, an organization had hoped it would do, or it wasn't configured in a way to allow it to do that. One that we're all struggling with is just having staff that has the requisite knowledge, that has the experience and the subject matter expertise to build out AI solutions. So there's some very technical challenges here that we'll all overcome as we build our AI muscles and get better and stronger. But there's also some process and people challenges here that are worth calling out. Implementing an AI solution can be disruptive. It can cause human anxiety. My world is changing. My cheese has been moved. How is this going to impact me? And that can then influence my level of enthusiasm for this new capability and follow up from stakeholders and engagement with the new solution. You can see here 25% of the respondees said that their business case wasn't well defined. So even just understanding what we're trying to achieve and why we're trying to achieve it is critically important. Almost as many respondees said that they didn't have, they just had unrealistic expectations from their leadership. So really getting aligned up front, having the structure around your implementation and your ideas is critical to the success and the benefits that you are hoping to achieve from your AI projects. So then, as we think about that, one of the most important things when you're thinking about your AI projects is to pick the right use cases and make sure that as you move forward, you have, first of all, a large pool to select from, and then the ability to say, well, in the pool, this one is the good idea. This is the one we should invest in. I'm going to transition to JC and let her talk through some of the ways in which you can achieve that balance of the right number of ideas and the right ideas moving forward.
Thanks, Kim. Okay, so because you guys on the line may work in multiple industries and there are so many, right? They're going to vary by industry. What I'm going to give you is some more kind of fundamental principles and frameworks for coming up with great ideas for your business. So the first piece, right, is to just really confirm the business priorities for your organization this year, right? Because AI technologies are evolving so quickly, it doesn't make sense to plan too far ahead. But what fundamentally are you trying to improve in your business today and this year? Are you trying to make employees more productive, which could lead to cost savings? Are you trying to aggressively grow revenue in certain markets? Do you really want to prevent customer churn, right, and improve customer satisfaction? Are you trying to speed up your product development lifecycle and drive innovations? Do you want to make more accurate and more cost-effective investment decisions, or do you want to reduce the cost of risk management and compliance? All of these are very valid business benefits and business drivers for investing in AI. But if you are really new to investing in AI, I recommend that you just start by picking one or two of these priorities and think about use cases along those lines. Next, think about all of your job functions and roles, right? And think about which ones are most critical to your business, which ones are the lifeblood of your business, which departments and roles are most core to generating revenue and driving business growth. That would depend by industry, but for example, at Shibumi, engineering, definitely one of them, as we are a software company, right? And people in these roles, right, are generally the more scarce, the more expensive talent as well. They are facing some, they have some repetitive tasks. They have some bottlenecks and process inefficiencies. What are those, right? Go and find out. Those are places where AI can, lift a lot of that work off of people's plates. And what these here are some just quick examples that you can see right here. Just to get a little bit more granular, right? There are some other ways to think about it, right? One is these really time-consuming and repetitive tasks done by the expensive roles. For instance, maybe it's your product managers who are trying to prioritize items for the roadmap. They are getting lots of unstructured data as customer feedback, and they're overwhelmed there. That's something AI can help with. Maybe it's your sales reps. They are trying to spend more time building relationships with customers and prospects, but yet they are spending too much time trying to find information in corporate folders. Maybe it's your marketing team spending too much time on generating blog post ideas and not enough time on other activities that really drive demand. And your legal team, they are reviewing contracts that are really long. Those could be taking a long time. Just some quick examples, right? Then think about what are the investment decisions you are already making today that are pretty costly if you get it wrong, right? Where you are already making those decisions with data and analytical models. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to improve the accuracy of those models, of those predictions, and therefore, because of the improved accuracy, right, actually get better ROI from your investment dollars. Again, those are some examples from marketing, sales, customer success, and if you're delivering physical products, maybe you think about inventory and versus demand. Companies that are really great at serving their customers, they are the ones that really stand out, right? So improving the customer experience, improving customer satisfaction, that's another good area to think about, right? Think about the friction points your customers are experiencing with your company across their journey, right? Maybe a very obvious example is they're waiting way too long to get an answer to a support ticket, or that you have multiple sort of a disparate process just to solve a single customer issue. These are things that AI and automation as well together can really help solve for you. A really easy way to get some very concrete and useful ideas for your organization is to run an innovation challenge or an event, right? This would generally be a 1 to 2 day event where you invite all the employees who want to participate in it, have them come up with their own challenges and their own AI solutions, right? And submit proposals back to leadership or to the AI governance committee. Make a commitment to evaluate these ideas in a timely manner and then invest in the best ones from the idea, right? This is a good way to get at least a couple dozen of ideas and start to vet them. Just another kind of quick common examples of where you may consider investing in AI if you already haven't. There is this generative AI technique called the retrieval augmented generation technique. This is super popular among corporations already. It's basically saying, hey, we're going to feed a large language model a set of knowledge base, right? Information about my company, my products, my customers, for instance. And then that model can chat with the end users and give the users very relevant insights to answer their questions. It doesn't have to be in a chat interface, but it's just a really quick and easy win. We are already experimenting. We've already actually released some apps that use this technique. And here are a couple of examples. One is one that you may already have experience with if you're a current Shibumi customer. It's our AI support chatbot in the Shibumi platform itself. So basically, the problem we're trying to solve here is we just want to help Shibumi app admins be able to get answers quickly, to configure Shibumi, to get what they need done with the product, and save a lot of time, right? Not have to search through a lot of articles to get the answer they need. So our product team, they trained this OpenAI large language model, fed it all of the Shibumi knowledge base, the help documentation. And so now it's become smarter. It's trained on how to answer Shibumi product questions, and app admins can use it directly in our product. The second example that you see in the top right-hand corner is something that is not yet released but under development right now out of our marketing team. So this is a bot that we call the Shibumi Brand Voice Assistant. Basically, the problem we're trying to solve is there are a lot of people, right, who have to write well and stay on brand and communicate consistently to customers and prospects about Shibumi. And writing well is hard. It takes time, and and a lot of it impacts a lot of people. They have to do this. So what we've done here is we have trained this GPT. It's leveraging OpenAI's custom GPT tool. We trained it on the Shibumi brand voice and tone guidelines, the customer types, the personas we communicate with, their challenges, needs, the Shibumi company, our core, our products, our use cases, our solution approach to the business challenges our customers are facing, right? And so now it could, take that knowledge and help somebody write in different contexts. Maybe it's generate a LinkedIn social post that encourages engagement, or it's to answer, a common question a prospect might have about the Shibumi platform. So just a couple more examples to kind of drive home what I'm talking about. So let's say that you have now, identified some very interesting AI use cases. And, again, you want to make sure these actually meet business expectations and do deliver the outcomes, right? That's your ultimate goal. So to do that, you want to develop a value hypothesis for these AI use cases, which is basically saying that we expect or would guess that this AI use case could increase or decrease a certain business metric or a business key performance indicator by a meaningful amount, right? And this way, you're getting a little bit more rigorous, right? You're saying, hey, this is actually valuable to the business in this particular way. It impacts this particular KPI. And also make sure, right, you write down what's the problem you're trying to solve. And then what assumptions are you making? What assumptions are you baking into this value hypothesis? Here, I've just listed a few potential business KPIs to consider. As you notice, some of them are a little bit more financial or direct, like cost savings or cost avoidance and time savings. Those can be tied back to revenue more easily. But some other ones are indirect, right? Like net promoter score or process cycle time or improved accuracy. Don't just focus on the very direct kind of business KPIs. The other ones can be really valuable as well. And again, you're kind of in a phase of experimentation. So it is okay that you can't, you don't feel that confident in quantifying these things yet, but just do your best and talk to people who understand the business to get that data that you need. So, you're trying to basically build a small portfolio of use cases you're going to start to invest in, right? So you can't choose everything. You want to rank and prioritize. So how do you do that? Kind of at a high level, really think about two dimensions, value and feasibility. And again, coming up with a kind of how to evaluate this, I talked to multiple technology, innovation, and AI leaders among our customer base and try to get a broad perspective of how organizations in different industries are doing this, right? But kind of broadly speaking, from a value perspective, you can think about the impact on your business. How well does this use case align with your business priorities, right? Maybe you care about improving efficiency a little bit more than you care about risk mitigation. So the things that are around improving efficiency may get a higher kind of weight, for instance, right? Is there a visible customer benefit if you deliver this AI solution? What's the type? What's the scale? What is the time to value? How quickly could you deploy this and start to realize the benefits you're expecting? How many users will you reach, right? How scalable is this? And then finally, is this something, if you do it right, that unlocks a new value stream for your organization? Maybe you can innovate on your business model. If so, that should be, that's something to consider in your priorities. On the feasibility side, it's going to vary a lot depending on whether you are trying to build your own AI model in-house versus whether you are leveraging third-party tools that are kind of out of the box, right? If you are building your own AI model, the first thing really to think about is the data requirements. Do you have usable data? Do you have enough data? Is it compliant and legal to use that data? Do you have the expertise to build the right types of models to solve the right type of problem? And then beyond that, right, thinking about how easy versus complex it would be to integrate a new model or that AI system into the rest of your business applications, into your processes, the integration complexity piece. And then always, when you think about feasibility, think about people, right? Are they anxious about change? Are they concerned about how it's going to change their job? Are they concerned that they're going to have to, be reorged or learn some sort of new process? Make sure to factor those people and process change elements into your feasibility kind of criteria as well. Um, you know, the point here is, chances are your organization, you may already have familiarity and knowledge of certain types of AI techniques and tools, but you are just, dipping a toe in the water with other techniques or tools, right? And, so there's some on one side, when you're leveraging a new AI technique, you're just learning it, right? You're going to be more uncertain about how well that's going to fit with a business problem you have. And you're going to be more uncertain on the time horizon to benefit realization, right? But you still want to venture or experiment with these newer capabilities, because if you can unlock this, they can deliver significant business value for your organization in the future, right? So it's worthwhile kind of investing in some of these venture ideas. On the other hand, you might have things that are kind of well defined, you know how it's going to work, and you can set higher expectations for project paying off because you have more certainty on the feasibility. So just wanted to remind everyone that, to set your expectations for AI projects upfront and invest accordingly. So okay, we've talked about prioritizing AI projects. Now we are in the phase where you have selected, maybe you've selected a few things that you want to pilot. And the keyword here is pilot, right? We are not trying to, if you're new to something, you're not trying to just immediately deploy it widely. You want to make sure that it's scoped enough that you can just test your value hypothesis. So Gartner has come up with a very good sort of approach or life cycle. That's what you're seeing on this slide for piloting Gen AI projects. I think it works really well for traditional ML AI projects as well. So the first step is, we talked about this already, you ideate, right? You find a bunch of use cases, you align them to business priorities, and you think about how they can, help your business match it up with kind of core AI capabilities. The next step, number 2, is you want to prioritize and just start with a few, right? You want to build a small portfolio, not too large. And maybe you want to balance projects that deliver value, right, quickly versus and are very kind of feasible versus some that deliver kind of value in a longer time horizon, but are very innovative. The third step is you want to build a small, dedicated team for the pilot, and keep it small but diverse, right? Include the business perspective, include the technical experts and the AI experts as well, right? But don't involve too many people, because what you really want is to just design the minimal viable product, right? You want to scope this for each use case, so that you keep it pretty contained. You can design and build something in just a few weeks, ideally. And then, of course, you want to think about what is your deployment strategy? Is it going to be a phased approach? And what's your risk mitigation plan? And then finally, right, it's step 5 is you are delivering the minimum functionality to test your use cases in a few weeks or a month. And then you take a look at the results and whether your project has met your initial expectations and your hypothesis or not, it is okay to stop. It is okay to say, this did not work, but we learned something, and we're going to cut our losses and try something else. It's also okay to refine and fine tune, or you might decide it is time to scale. But keep it flexible, keep it agile. And I'm going to turn it back to Kim to talk about the next steps in our life cycle.
Sure, thanks, JC. So yeah, JC just hit on a couple key points. I'm going to restate. It's really important to include those assessment points in your process. You'll do the prototyping, and then decide if that's working. Is it working well? It's okay to stop. It's actually better to stop and walk away. Don't throw good money after bad. Take your lessons learned, take your valuable resources that you were dedicating to that project and allocate them to the next AI project and set it up for success. JC also talked about the strategy of introducing new capability in phases, and making sure that we have a plan that will roll out in phases. This slide talks a little bit about the need to anticipate barriers. So when you are moving into kind of the implementation and planning phase, think about the process aspects and the people impact of your projects. Identify the issues on the right-hand side. So this slide discusses a goal of introducing a AI solution that will help customer success managers intervene for at-risk accounts. So obviously, in order for this to be a successful AI project, the customer success managers have to embrace it. They have to be excited about it. They have to want to participate in it. So on the right-hand side of this slide, we've brainstormed the questions that should be considered. Do the customer success managers understand why we're pushing this solution out? Are there processes and workflows that they're using today that are going to change because of the workflow? Is there a user interface that they need to become familiar with? By anticipating the questions up front and getting answers defined for each of them, and then by pulling in a CSM as a champion to help you design, to help you think through. JC talked about keeping that team small. That doesn't mean you don't bring in the subject matter expert for the area that the AI is going to be impacting. Pull in that person, have them be engaged, have them help and cheerlead the rollout as you move forward. So let's talk about once you do move forward. It's exciting. You've got a bot deployed. You've got an AI capability deployed to your organization. But the work's not quite done. Now you're in monitoring mode. Now you're monitoring whether or not the data is producing the results, the AI is producing the results that you anticipated. You started with a hypothesis of benefit. Are you achieving that? Are you getting the quantitative measurements that you expected, the increased revenue, the shorter cycle times for things? Are you getting the qualitative benefits that you anticipated, the greater customer satisfaction or employee satisfaction as well? Make sure that the adoption rate is where it needs to be. Is there resistance from the team? It's good to have those checkpoints with the team, and continue to reflect on how to iterate. JC showed us a circle slide. I'm going to show you another circle slide in a second. There's a reason they're circles. There's an iteration element and a concept that is in place there. Generally, the idea we're highlighting here is that you're not done when you reach deployment date. Now you just get the benefits of that great solution, and you can start to monitor it and iterate and improve upon it. I also mentioned at the beginning of the session how quickly AI technology is changing. You don't want to say this capability is done, never to be touched again. This is now a product. This is something that you get the opportunity to introduce enhancements to. So it's something to monitor that AI world and say, okay, they just introduced ability for AI to have some memory around chat discussions. Maybe we want to incorporate that into our solution. Those types of things. So you should treat it like something that you'll continue to iterate on. Lastly, The final box here talks about sharing the wins. Success begets success. When you do have a successful AI deployment, celebrate it, announce it, give it some publicity internally in your organization, and build the enthusiasm for what AI can do for your organization. That will get more people engaged and involved. You start to reduce those barriers of adoption. You start to have people pretty excited about what it can do for them. But with all of that, as we said, all these great benefits and wonderful things that you can do with AI, there comes along a set of risk and governance considerations. And I'll pass it back to JC to have her talk through those.
Yeah. So I should have mentioned this earlier when I was talking about value and feasibility, right? But the risks, can think about the risk as part of how feasible it is too, right? You know, I'm not a risk expert by any means, but I wanted to just kind of highlight a few types of risks that you should be aware of with your AI projects. So if you are developing machine learning models, right, or more traditional AI that uses a lot of data, one of the key risks to think about is the data. Will you have enough accurate, unbiased, usable data to train your models? If you're going to make sensitive decisions with your AI model, be careful about data bias. So, for instance, let's say that you're a health insurer and you're working on a disease prediction model, and the training data you have consists mostly of medical records from one demographic group, such as a single gender or a single age group, then the AI model may perform better on that group and have worse accuracy for the other demographics. Also, be very aware of the privacy laws that govern your regions and your industry, like HIPAA and GDPR, because they may prevent you from using certain data that is considered personal, right? Like health information for model training. Handling sensitive data for AI projects, you have to be careful. You have to put some security and strong access control measures in place to safeguard the data against breaches and unauthorized access. Be very aware if you're building an AI model, what the assumptions are, right? What are the assumptions you're making? Under what conditions will those predictions hold true or hold well? And how stable are those assumptions going to be over time? An AI model that's making inaccurate predictions due to bad data or bad assumptions can cost a company a lot of money. Monitor those AI models once they're in production and make sure that they're doing what you expected. Make sure that they're not drifting, because the drift in the models can lead to downgraded business benefits. Monitor your budget carefully. Budget overspend tends to be a common issue with a lot of AI projects because they require a lot of computing resources. And then finally, if you are, in the realm where you're making decisions about human health, for instance, or safety, like autonomous vehicles, you really need to keep, this will require a lot more testing and validation. You really need to keep human safety in mind. So, on the other hand, if you're thinking about leveraging generative AI, a lot of times you're probably using some sort of third party large language model or visual language model, that kind of thing, rather than building your own in-house, unless, of course, you're a massive tech company. So in that case, one of the biggest concerns is actually the disclosure of sensitive company information. When your employees are using a third-party tool like ChatGPT for work, for instance, you're feeding company information, or your employees are actually, into that developer's model, and that's getting mixed with all the other data going into their model. There's no way to know what's went in and what they're doing with it, right? It's a black box. So that's something to be very aware of. It's worthwhile to develop some corporate policies, right, and point of view on how employees can use these third-party tools for work. If you're using a tool for creating designs, for instance, creating advertising, visual creatives, that kind of thing, right? the concern mainly there is copyright and IP infringement. Because the model is leveraging other people's creative work and generating something new. But this is an area to be aware of. Models are not accurate all the time. They can actually make up completely false information out of thin air and have utter confidence and say, yep, this is what it is. So make sure to always have a human check that work, and not rely on it for factual information, right? It's good for first drafts, but you have to have a human in the loop. And then finally, because they can hallucinate and make up false information, they can amplify the spread of misinformation, which could be very harmful potentially in situations like political campaigns and elections. Whenever you're thinking about deploying new AI systems or solutions, never forget about the people. We talked about this earlier, but people are if they don't understand something, right, they're not going to trust it. They may be anxious about what it means for them and their jobs, right? So thinking through all these aspects, potentially retraining, upskilling, clear communications about the AI system, what it's doing, how it's making decisions, all of these are things that you want to consider. So because, there are all these types of risks, regulators around the globe are quite concerned about how AI might potentially harm people, society, even free market competition, and even democracy and democratic institutions. What you're seeing here is just a snapshot of global regulations and proposals of rules and laws that are in place today. Some are enacted, some are under discussion around governing AI. So, look at kind of your industry, look at your region, and consider what you may be liable for, right? And notice that some of them, this one from the EU is pretty interesting to me in particular, because they take a very much of a risk-based approach to governing AI systems, and they have different requirements, right? Much more stringent requirements for high-risk AI systems versus kind of more low-risk general-purpose AI systems. And it's worth keeping that in mind for your own AI governance approach as well. So, as your company moves forward on your journey, it is very important to put some governance guardrails in place, right, to minimize the risks and potential harms and potential negative business fallout from these projects. So what should you do? The first thing I recommend is get executive sponsorship, right? Make sure that this is something that gets C-suite attention at the organization level, right? Set some sort of investment appetite and risk appetite for your AI projects. That is very important. And then, right, make sure that there is a core group of people responsible for governing AI projects. Have a governance committee, have an AI center of excellence, and include very diverse perspectives on here, right? Because AI projects just touch on so much, right? There's the technical aspects, there's the user experience aspect, there's a business aspect, and then there's that even accessibility and inclusion aspect, right? You don't want a system that biases certain groups, etc. So form that committee and then start to create some policies at the company level, right? And start to develop some methodologies or processes for how to look at, how to evaluate and approve AI projects. Design procedures and policies for identifying the risks and managing the risks. That's really important. And then finally, don't treat all of your AI projects in the exact same way. Consider their various levels of business impact and their level of risk. You want to try to find some type of balance or middle ground where you are governing things enough, right? But you are not governing too much or becoming too controlled, where you're basically, you want to provide some breathing room for innovation. You want to provide that space for employees to experiment and to learn and to iterate. So So it's just a really quick, a few thoughts on governance. There's a lot more, but we will not have time to discuss today. I want to turn it back to Kim to kind of wrap us up and then show us a demo of our AI Value Accelerator solution.
Yeah, we're showing this final slide before we step into the demo to provide a bit of a recap. So all of the phases, the life cycle phases that JC just stepped us through and highlighted the importance of are represented here. If you have seen a Shibumi demo at any point in the past, this slide is probably something that looks a little bit familiar. When we talk about our business transformative programs, we talk about our strategic portfolio management programs, it always starts at 12 o'clock with what is the goal? What is the problem you're trying to address, the challenge you're trying to take on? Moving clockwise, there's the idea of generating ideas to address that challenge to help you achieve the goal. And of course, then there's ranking and prioritizing all of those ideas. Those 3 steps are in every one of our strategic programs, the solutions that Shibumi provides to the world. We've inserted in the circle this prototype step specifically for AI programs. It is so important to try to get to a quick feasibility assessment. Are we going to achieve the benefit we wanted to achieve? And that prototyping step will help you get that level of confidence before you further invest into implementation, roll it out, and begin the monitoring and tracking. I mentioned a little while ago, it's a circle because it's iterative, right? So you come back around and you're reassessing your problem, redefining the scope of your goals, redefining your strategic objectives for the year, and generating new ideas, etc. So that outer circle is very consistent with other Shibumi solutions. The inner circle is especially important for AI as well, that governance layer that JC just warned us about, and that awareness we have to have, and consideration and responsible use of AI in order to get the benefits, the wonderful benefits of AI without the detrimental aspects. And of course, reporting just gives everyone a layer of transparency. All right, so with that, I am going to share my screen and let's see if I can just do the whole tab here. Here we go. Okay, and show you. Let's see if I can get over to the value accelerator. Show you the value accelerator.
It's looking good. I can see it. Just
confirming. Good, thanks, Lucy. I was just going to ask you to confirm that. So what you're looking at is the Shibumi solution, the AI Value Accelerator solution. There's a couple things to call out here. It's very, there's a framework that is the Shibumi framework. You always have this navigation sidebar down the side. You always have the title and the tabs across the top. That's just a consistent Shibumi framework. What we've done with the Value Accelerator is built a hierarchy that is basically your program, your Value Accelerator program, and then the work streams within the program. I have defined in this demo the work streams to be functionally focused. They could be objective focused. They could be product lines. They could be, whatever the work streams are within your organization. Then within each work stream, just staying here on the navigation sidebar for a second, you can see the different optimization ideas that are included. Taking a look then at the rest of this page, this dashboard gives us a high-level perspective of all of the opportunities that are in flight in our program. We follow the life cycle, and you can see these other tabs represent the life cycle as well: ideas, pipeline, prototyping, implementation, and monitoring that I just covered in that circle. This slide shows me, first over here on the right-hand side, where my ideas are, which stage they're sitting in. As we start to define the benefit that we're going to achieve from the ideas, from the opportunities, we can also see the benefit value and what stage that benefit value currently sits in. On the left-hand side, we're seeing the velocity of idea input. How fast is my funnel filling up? If I have some of those brainstorming sessions that JC highlighted, crowdsourcing type sessions, are we getting good ideas? Are they starting to fill our funnel? And then you can also break it down by techniques, different AI techniques and capabilities that you might want to see. The boxes across the top give us the high-level monetary benefit values, and again, based on where we are in the stage, in the flight. So before I go into kind of taking you through very quickly through the different life cycle phases, I want to take a little bit more time to talk about how the solution is set up. On the far right side here, you see some tabs that are prefixed with an asterisk. These are tabs that end users don't see, that most normal users don't see. As the administrator of your AI Value Accelerator program, you would see them. I'm going to focus in on this admin scoring tab. When we bring in new ideas, another thing that JC highlighted several times through her session is that your risk tolerance, your organization's assessment, the things that are important to your organization are going to be unique. So being able to come in here and say, okay, we want to assess risk, and this particular risk is 20% of my risk tolerance score. I might say this one is 80% and reduce the percentage of the others. This is the most important risk. If we have this risk, we want to make sure we flag it. The same thing happens on the value side, where we're defining business impact, customer value, time to value. These are assessments that if we get this business impact value, right now it's 20% of my business value score, but perhaps I want that to be heavier, weighted more heavily. So you have this flexibility here to adjust the levers to fit your organization and the goals that your organization has with AI. Now I'm going to jump back and step into a little bit of flow. The opportunities tab is your superset. It's all of the opportunities at all of the stages. You can see it's kind of just a count across each stage right now. And from here, I can create a new opportunity. If I do that, it opens up this opportunity intake form. I'm going to just click through a few tabs here to show you. It basically would walk through. What I wanted to get to, though, is that when we look here at this value assessment questions, that business impact that we just saw over on the admin tab is what shows here on the intake form. And as I select as the person submitting the idea, I'm making my subjective assessment on the business impact. And when this score is assessed, it will be 20% of the score for this particular idea. Why does all this matter? Now, when we go back and we start to look at the ideas that are coming in through the intake forms, I can then, gather the ideas, mature the ideas, and at the point where we're ready to start assessing them against each other, I have these scores. I have a risk score and I have a value score that help me determine the right idea to pursue. We talked about at the beginning of the session, you want to have a big pool to draw from, but then you want to make sure you're picking the right ones from the pool. This type of assessment helps you get to the right opportunities at the right time. And you can do things here. So I have a whole set of opportunities sitting in pipeline, but maybe I just want to look at the ones that have been vetted and are actually just waiting for someone to click an approval button. I can filter content. I can go through and have some of that capability in the Shibumi product. That's so nice to have. As we continue through the kind of life cycle phase, I'll drill down into one of the opportunities in the prototype phase. And we can see, so visual search and augmented reality, I've got it open over here for a quick link, is an opportunity that currently sits in prototype. I don't know if you noticed when JC was showing her slide, she had some of these screenshots in her slide. But here's where we can define that value hypotheses. We expect that visual search option to be used by 50% of our customers and improve average cart size by at least 20%. As we work through this prototype, we can define a prototype result, and we can say, we saw our recommendation system had an average purchase order that was 8% higher than the control group. As we start to see some, you're starting to record the benefits and making the decisions whether to continue forward to implementation. And I'm going to jump back up to the top, and I can always do that using the breadcrumb trail here, but I've got the tabs open, so I'll keep it simple that way. As we move into implementation, you're starting to track now the activities. So we've done the prototype. We felt like the prototype was successful. We want to move forward into implementation. Now you're going to build out all those tasks. Think through the questions. What kind of adoption and change management activities do we need to include? What technical requirements do we need to define, etc.? Build out your AI solution and track it through implementation here. Ultimately, you come into the monitoring phase. Something is live. We're now tracking value over time. We had our target values over time. we have our actual values over time. Because you have it all logged here inside of this Shibumi solution, AI Value Accelerator, you can log the actuals and see the benefit and have the evidence to let you know that this was a solution worth investing in, and maybe a solution that requires additional investment or that we should double down on and further invest. So this was a very quick look at the Shibumi Value Accelerator to show you some of the capabilities in here. We're happy to step through a much longer look, much more detailed demo, and answer your specific questions if you have them. I'm going to switch back over to Bright Talk and the slides. So we just did the demo. And now, if you have questions, you can log your questions through the Bright Talk app. Again, if you have a request for a demo or follow-up questions, we're always happy to take those offline as well.
And I just wanted to point out that if you want additional resources, right, on AI and how to structure them, creating business value, I also wrote an ebook that has those are in the attachments. So there's a link to download the ebook. And if you think this was interesting and you want to show this to someone else, we have a video that you can easily share as well.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for participating in the session today. I hope you can sense the enthusiasm we have for AI and the potential that it has for the world. We're excited to embrace it. We think the AI Value Accelerator will really enforce responsible use of AI and really help you make the right decisions so that you get the benefit that you're looking for and avoid the risks and the pitfalls along the way. Thank you very much. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.